Hey guys, meteorologist Chris Tomer here. Let's talk some mountain weather. My first stop is where it is precipitating heavily right now. This is that rich atmospheric river flow. The radar out of Seattle, you can see it's just like a fire hose of moisture slamming into the high volcanoes and the high Cascades. Just copious amounts of valley rain, and the snow levels have been pretty high, like 7,700 feet today. They'll fall tomorrow and they'll get even lower the day after. But this is that strong intensity atmospheric river push. So what happens with this precip after this? Well, it's going to break loose and move into the Intermountain West, 12-7 and 12-9. And then there's a couple of other storms that ride its coattails through about 12-12, 12-13. But you can see my timeline for snow there in Colorado, 12-8, 12-9. And then 12-10, and then again 12-12. So three different shots. Utah, it's a couple of different shots there, 12-7, 12-8, and beyond. And then Wyoming, 12-7, 12-8, and 12-10. So we've got some action that's going to last us all the way through about 12-11, 12-12 there. Let me take you into water vapor satellite imagery. So with this, you're looking at the Pacific and the West Coast. You've got the oranges and reds, which are drier air aloft, but I'm really focusing on the moisture. And there's your atmospheric river flow. The strong intensity slamming into the Pacific Northwest, coming up over the top and spilling down. There's another area of low pressure. In fact, there are two. One up here and another one behind it, which will both play into the extended forecast. They're going to race in behind this, and there's a big area of low pressure here. They'll race in behind it, and that's what's going to fuel those additional chances of snow for the Intermountain West down the road. Here's the forecast radar and satellite. That's the current state of affairs. Put this into motion. By the time we get to tomorrow morning, that's your setup tomorrow afternoon. And then by the time we get into 12-7, this is when it's on the move. It breaks loose. We've got snow in Idaho, Montana, the Tetons, and also the Wasatch. And that's going to be the case during the day on 12-7. And then some of that spills into Colorado on 12-8. In the morning, the very early morning, comes crashing down through I-70, still snowing, and it's getting much colder at this point. So it's going to be all snow. It's snowing back in the Tetons, Idaho, the Wasatch. Now watch this. By the time we get to midday in the afternoon, it's snowing all the way down to the valley floors, all the way into Denver, 5280, looking for several inches of accumulation in Denver. And there's 4:15 in the afternoon, 12:8. Here we go on Saturday morning, leftover snow, and then it moves away. But that's not it. Watch the Pacific Northwest. Here comes fast-moving area of snow there. It's minor, but it's just enough to drop a couple of inches. And then there's another storm behind that, which will move in. An element of that will drop south through Colorado and New Mexico and maybe spin up as a low. 12-12, 12-13, somewhere in there. All right, let's talk jet stream. So this is tomorrow, 12-6. So we're helping to move that jet's helping to move that energy out of the Pacific Northwest and then down into the interior, into the Intermountain West. 12-7, 12-8, 12-9. Here is 12-8, and you can see the well-defined trough, the dip in the jet here over Colorado and Wyoming and northern New Mexico. That's what's going to help to produce that snow in all of those places, and up in the Wasatch as well. We're going to see that snowfall. One more jet map. This is 12-14. Another area. You can see that area of low pressure that could develop through Colorado and New Mexico, 12-12, 13, and 14. If it does, we'll get a good shot of snow for Colorado and northern New Mexico. All right, as far as numbers go, not much happening today or tomorrow unless you're up in the Pacific Northwest or up in Banff. Banff, sunshine, you'll probably get 3 to maybe 8 inches of accumulation. The next phase, all of that slides down into the interior, and we're talking about a foot for the Tetons, about a foot in the Wasatch, and in Colorado, the numbers have gone up. Probably 8 to 12 inches through most of the central to northern mountain corridor, a bit more possible in southern Colorado, and some nice snow, another foot up there in the Pacific Northwest, Idaho, decent snows, and Montana also gets in on the action. Let's talk the final period. This is 12-10 through 12-14. Again, you have that additional minor storm coming down and potentially one more behind that, which will develop in Colorado and northern New Mexico. So that's where the numbers are going to be biggest, in Colorado and northern New Mexico. So we're looking at waves, at least 3 waves in the period. All right, one more stop. This is in the northeast. So the rest of today through the 14th, notice I don't have much here. There is a very large storm system that's going to develop around 12-10, 12-11, but it's going to be too warm. And I think it's just going to be mainly rain, unfortunately, for the northeast. In fact, here's a snapshot on the forecast radar and satellite for 12-10. It puts with this setup and the jet setup, it puts all of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine in the warm sector. So it's going to be all rain, at least initially. As the cold front blows through on 12/11, it may turn it to snow, but that's the track. Unfortunately, it just pushes all that warm air up into the northeast ahead of the storm system. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this update. Appreciate you tuning in here, and take care.